Hi guys, this is going to be a different kind of video. I've been thinking about making a video like this for a long time now, but I just thought it was kind of weird to talk about how much money I make online. But I've been thinking about it, and my business is a huge part of my life and of my day. So I thought, why not share my journey, and maybe it will inspire someone to do something similar. So if you don't know me or you haven't watched any of my videos before, I'm Alexandra and I do self-publishing on Amazon KDP. And as you can see from the title of this video, today I'm going to talk about the bestseller that I published last year that made me $29,769.75. So this is what I will be covering in today's video. I will give you a little bit of context for this book, and I'm going to break down the numbers. So if you want to find out how much profit I made, make sure you stay until the end. And I will also show you my costs, how much it cost me to produce this book, and I will also show you my previous highest record for one book in 1 month, and I will give you some insights into what changed and how come these results were even possible. So, full disclosure for this book, my first big KDP hit. I published this book in October of 2024, so that was Q4, and that is the quarter where most sales on Amazon take place because it's Christmas. A lot of people go on the platform to buy Christmas presents. So even though these numbers are exciting, I just want you to know that usually sales on Amazon during their year are not as high as in Q4. And some publishers even double or triple their yearly revenue only in this quarter. So yeah, you can just imagine how much more sales there are during this period of time. And the numbers I'm going to show here are my sales from one single book. But at the time of publishing this book, I had 66 books published in total. That number has changed since because I've published new books in the meantime. But yeah, just so you know, these are the numbers from one single book. And this was a huge milestone for me. It was my first book to hit these numbers, and it was really exciting. So let's get into it. You can see a screenshot of my dashboard from November 2024, and you can see there is only one book selected, so this is my bestseller. And you can see that the sales are gradually increasing, and that in the beginning they were really low, and that's because, as I said, I published my book in October, at the end of October, and Amazon usually takes a few days to index your book, so to make your book appear in search results. And then after I published it, sales gradually started to increase. And then I had two peaks that you can see on the dashboard. So one of them was November 30th. On that day, I made $2,712, and my highest day of the month was $2,814. And by highest day, I mean my highest day for this single book, because as I said, I had other books that were making sales. But this book made in one single day $2,814. So that was really exciting for me, and I'm going to show you the breakdown by countries. So for clarity, this book was written in English. That means that my audience, the audience I was targeting, was obviously in English-speaking countries, mainly the United States. And you can see that most sales I've made in the United States. So I had $26,602 only in the US. And second place was United Kingdom with $2,317, followed by Canada. And in Canada, I made $532. And there are other countries like Germany, Australia, Sweden, which is interesting because I was not running ads in these countries, and that's a good thing because that means that all the sales in the other countries were organic sales and I did not have to pay ads for them. So what that means is just that once your book gains some traction and it's starting to sell, Amazon will start pushing your books in other markets as well. And you can tell that they know what they're doing because I did make some sales in other countries as well. So one of the most important metrics on Amazon to track how your book is doing in terms of sales is the bestseller rank. So the way Amazon uses the bestseller rank is the lower your rank is, the more your book is selling. So for me, I was following this metric very closely during that time, and my book actually reached top 1,000 in all books on Amazon, which was great, a great result for me. And I actually took some screenshots. I was so excited at the time. I remember I was still in Southeast Asia, and obviously the United States is in the opposite time zone. So I was waking up at 3 a.m. to check how my book was doing, and I was not able to fall back asleep because I was so excited. And yeah, the lowest my book reached in the ranking was 700 and something. The latest, like the only screenshot I have is when my book was ranking 789 in all books. And I tried to look up a figure to kind of give you an understanding of how big the market is on Amazon, and I couldn't find an exact figure, but the only thing I found is that there are millions of paperback books published on the platform, and my book was paperback. So yeah, that was really exciting to have one book in top 1,000, even though there are millions of other books published. Okay, now let's get to the interesting part. At least for me, this is the most interesting part because I really like to look at profit. I think many times the revenue can be deceiving, and there are some people who claim to have made millions of dollars, but then if you actually look at their profit, it's not that high. So for me, this is always the most important number to look at. So the production cost for this book was actually $0 US. And that is because when I did market research for this book and I came up with the idea to write it, I decided that I'm going to do it by myself because there was an urgency to publish this book really fast, and I did not want to have to rely on somebody else because it could have taken longer to produce. So yeah, I decided to take initiative, and maybe I should have included my labor cost for this book, but I didn't do it now. So yeah, I just included production cost $0 US. And the total ad cost for this book in 1 month was $10,222. So as you can see, it's pretty high, and that's pretty normal for that period because usually during this quarter, a lot more publishers are publishing book, obviously because they know there are many people buying them, and they also increase their advertising bids. That means they are bidding higher so that their books can rank higher in the search results and more people see the books. And I knew this when I published the book, and this was a very competitive niche, and I would not recommend it for anyone who is starting out to do this unless you know what you're doing, because you can actually lose a lot of money by just spending on advertising and not making enough to cover the costs. Okay, so on top of that, I had to pay VAT of 20%, and that was $2,044 for the ads. So the total ad spend was $12,266 US. So that means that my profit for this book alone was $1,703 US. I think that's still a pretty good number considering that it was just one book, and as I said, during that period of time the costs, the advertising was much more costly than it is during the rest of the year. So I think it's a pretty good result. Okay, so what was my previous highest record? I went back in my history of sales and I wanted to see how much I made with one single book in 1 month prior to this book, and I found out that it was $4,534 US. And this is the revenue, this is not profit that I'm talking about. So it's a pretty high jump to go from $4,000 to $29,000. And you might be wondering what changed and how I made these results possible. So first of all, I think a better understanding of the market is what helped me find the right book to produce. And I think this comes with experience. So I've been doing this for 2 years now, and once you do it consistently, you start recognizing specific patterns, and you start also understanding marketing better, you get better at it, and you also get better at your advertising strategy. So as I said, it was a very competitive niche, and the reason why I went into it is because I had the skills already to kind of help me succeed in such a competitive market. But I wouldn't recommend it if you start out. I think, and I'm not saying this is the only way to succeed, but for me personally, I do tend to go into more competitive niches because I think the reward is much higher. And I'm at the point where, yeah, I really go for higher risk, higher reward, but at the same time, it's not careless risk because I think I've built some skills to be able to do this. And there obviously are other strategies, more safe strategies where you can still make money and decent profit, even though you don't enter such a competitive market. And the understanding the importance of timing. So this was super important because, as I said, my decision to do this book by myself and not hire someone else was so important because my book went live just in time for me to make the amount of sales that I made, and also timing in terms of understanding trends, emerging trends, and being fast enough to be able to capture that, you know. I think that's also super important, and it's again something that I think comes with doing this consistently for a long period of time. All right, so these were the numbers for this bestseller book, and as I said before, I am doing this because I want to share my journey. I don't have any course, and I don't plan on doing a course. But if you are interested in KDP and you actually want to find out more about it, I do have someone to recommend you. So Sean Dolwett has a KDP course. It's called Royalty Hero, and he actually teaches how to publish books from scratch. So I've met Sean personally in Bangkok last year. This is a picture from our meetup. And I also met him recently in Bali, along with other self-publishers who took his course and who are really, really successful. And I trust Sean. I've been following his advice these past 2 years as well. He definitely knows what he's doing. So I inserted a link in the description below if you're interested to check out his course. But yeah, you don't have to. This is just a recommendation if you are interested. And if you have any questions about this book or about KDP in general, comment down below and I'll make sure to answer all your questions. And also, if you want me to make similar videos in the future in which I talk about my KDP results, please let me know. And yes, please subscribe, and thank you for watching.